welcome to Campfire Clarity. I'm Brent Walsh, and in the description box below you'll see a little bit more about me if you're not familiar with who I am. You'll also find some links there to some of the tarot cards and oracle cards that I use to get a message from Spirit to deliver to you. So I've pulled some cards and meditated, and I've written some notes about a message that is coming through for you today. And it doesn't matter when this video is recorded. If you are here, then there might be something here for you. So the story I'm thinking about is actually about a lobster. I had done a sermon series not too long ago about the transitions that a lobster goes through in its lifespan. And if you know anything about lobsters, you know that they live for a long time. And the only reason they're able to live for so long is because they keep going through one transition after another. Basically, they shed their shell, and a new shell kind of like hardens on their body. And when that happens, when they have a brand new shell, it's often very soft, and so it doesn't provide them much protection. And so they find caves. They kind of like duck under rocks and caves to protect themselves while their new shell is hardening. And it's a very vulnerable time for them. You know, when their shell is hard, they have a great defense. And when they shed that shell, it takes a lot of energy. It can be quite traumatic for that poor lobster. And they have to rest, and they feel vulnerable. And it's very much in line with what we go through as we are going through our lives. We go through transitions all the time. So basically, as I was pulling cards, I was thinking about that vulnerable time that a lobster goes through after they have shed their shell and their new shell is hardening. And it reminds me of when you and I go through spiritual transitions. We can often spend a long time with one set of beliefs that eventually we grow out of. And we have to shed the shell of our beliefs as we evolve into different stages of life. The things that you believed when you were a teenager, many of them you've allowed to go by the wayside. You have shed that shell as you have gotten older, and as life experience has taught you different things. And some of the things that you believed 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 months ago are changing. And it can be traumatic. And there can be need for rest and allowing some of those new, soft, vulnerable beliefs to solidify in your life and to actually become practical and become useful in your life. And when you have shed some old beliefs and you are adopting new beliefs in, whatever area of your life that's happening right now, it can make you feel uncertain, because there can be this guard against being taken advantage of or being duped or fooled. So when you shed beliefs that have served you for many years and you're finding yourself in a very vulnerable position of what to believe now, or whether to believe the thing that is presented itself to you as the truth. It can have some serious internal processing that can feel very uncomfortable. You know, there was someone in my life who I grew up with, someone very dear to me. And for a long time, we held the same beliefs. We grew up in the same religious faith tradition, Christianity, very conservative Christianity. And there were a lot of things that we believed similarly. And it was obvious to me that my beliefs were moving in a different direction than her beliefs as we were getting older. And not too long ago, my beliefs took a sharp turn. And I actually shed a lot of my religious beliefs that I had held for many, many years. And in the process of that, I adopted new beliefs that were still soft and hadn't yet solidified around my personhood. And I was feeling vulnerable. The beliefs that I held when I was a kid, they served a very important purpose. They created a foundation for me. So when I outgrew them, it was sad in many ways for me. But I was excited about the direction that my life was heading. I was living into a calling. And the future looked bright, even though my new shell of beliefs was still very, very soft. And at one point, I expressed some of my new beliefs to this dear person in my life. And she became very concerned about the direction that my beliefs were taking me. And she was offering me spiritual guidance that I didn't want. And it was almost like she felt like it was her duty to offer me spiritual guidance based on a set of beliefs that she still held, but I no longer held. And in my vulnerability, I lashed out at her. I made it very clear in no uncertain terms that her spiritual guidance was not welcome. Now, I'm not saying that making yourself clear and setting boundaries is a bad thing. That's certainly a good thing. But the way it happened was very aggressive on my part. And even while I was expressing myself in that very aggressive way, she let me know that it was hurting her, that the things that I was saying were painful for her. So as I look back on that situation, I realized that the vulnerability that I was feeling in that moment was causing me to lash out at someone that I loved. And a lesson that I'm receiving from the spread that I have in front of me here is that as we mature, as we move into new directions in our life, as we transition away from our old shell and into our new shell, it's important that we communicate those transitions in a kind and gentle way. And it's okay to move away from relationships that don't evolve in the same direction that you're going, but do it with kindness. You know, one of the cards that I have in front of me right now is the Five of Swords, and it represents winning a battle, but at what cost? So listen, when you start developing a new shell and you're feeling very vulnerable, I hope you'll remember that it's still possible to live in harmony with the people in your life. If they approach you with a shell that you have outgrown, a set of beliefs that you no longer embrace, it's okay to reject those beliefs without rejecting the person. Remember to communicate with people in a loving and kind way. Even if you're feeling vulnerable, even if you are still uncertain about some of the things that are changing in your life, remember to be nice. Use your words in a way that will foster new understanding instead of seeking to win an argument. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.